Sometimes the hardest goodbye isn't spoken. It's shown when you choose yourself, respect over someone you still love, and they realize too late that there's no longer a place for them in your heart. Every deep love story reaches a moment no one prepares you for. It's not during arguments. It's not while crying. It's not even when you walk away. It's the instant when the person who once meant everything sees that you're no longer pleading, no longer explaining, no longer shrinking yourself to hold them close. You stand calm, steady, and quiet, your pride speaking louder than 1,000 emotional messages ever could. In that moment, something shifts within them. They don't lose you when you leave, they lose you the moment you stop needing them. This video is about that moment, what truly goes through their mind when your self-respect surpasses your love. It's about the quiet regret, the unspoken fear, the hidden panic, and how choosing yourself becomes the strongest goodbye you will ever give. At first, they don't understand what's happening. They're used to a version of you that checked their phone constantly, waited endlessly, forgave too easily, and always returned no matter how careless they were. Your love felt permanent, guaranteed, unshakable. They expected you to always revolve around their world. So when you stop chasing, stop asking questions, and stop trying to fix everything alone, it feels unfamiliar and unsettling. They convince themselves it's temporary. They assume you're just tired and will return because you always have. But days pass, then weeks, and you don't revert to your old ways. You're not angry, dramatic, or distant. You're peaceful. And that frightens them, because anger shows you still care, while silence shows you've begun to let go. They check your social media, reread old messages, searching for signs that you still feel the same. Slowly, painfully, they come to realize something fundamental has changed. You are no longer orbiting their world. You've built your own. And for the first time, they experience the emptiness you felt for so long. Uncertainty, insecurity, and the fear of losing their place in your life often linger quietly. At some point, without warning, they start to compare. Not out of jealousy at first, but from a subtle confusion. They notice something different about you. Your speech has changed. Your listening has shifted. You carry yourself with a calm confidence that wasn't there before. You no longer seek permission to exist. You don't measure your value by their attention. You don't structure your emotions around their presence. You no longer wait for tiny gestures of affection and call it love. This shift unsettles them because once you needed them. Once they were your center, your refuge, your main focus. But now you seem complete without them. They see you smile without trying to impress. They notice you enter rooms without seeking approval. They hear you talk about your dreams without including them in every thought. And suddenly, a difficult question arises in their mind. When did I stop being important to you? They remember the softer, more dependent version of you. The version that would stay even when it hurt. They begin to miss that version, not because it was better for you, but because it made them feel powerful. Now, standing before this stronger, wiser version of yourself, they feel smaller and less secure. You are no longer growing toward them, you are growing beyond them. Deep down, they realize they are watching someone they once took for granted become someone they no longer deserve. This realization comes quietly, without arguments or drama, but it lands like a heavy weight in their chest. They no longer have control over your emotions. Once, a single message could shift your entire mood. Once, careless words could make you doubt yourself. Once, their silence could leave you anxious and desperate for reassurance. You used to react, overthink, and explain yourself. You used to try harder when they pulled away. But now their absence doesn't shake you. Their coldness doesn't wound you the way it once did. Their approval no longer feels like oxygen. This terrifies them because emotional control is subtle. It often hides behind business or calling you too sensitive. For a long time you accepted it, you adjusted, gave in, until one day you stopped. One day you chose peace over chaos, self-respect over attachment. They felt it. They felt it the moment you stopped asking if they still cared. The moment you stopped waiting for replies, the moment you stopped rearranging your life around them. Now, when they try to pull you back with old memories or half-promises, you don't chase. You smile politely and maintain your distance. You protect your heart. In that quiet space between you, panic grows because they realize something frightening. They can no longer reach you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You are free, and freedom is something they never thought you could claim without them. Regret doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't strike like a storm. It settles quietly, unmistakably, in the spaces they can no longer touch. It comes slowly, quietly, without warning. It appears in ordinary moments, while driving alone, looking at old photographs, or hearing a song you once shared. Suddenly, they don't recall the arguments or the reasons they gave themselves for keeping distance. They remember your loyalty, your patience, your kindness. They remember how you stayed when leaving would have been easier. They remember how you believed in them even when they doubted themselves. That is when it hurts, because now they see everything clearly. You were never asking for too much. You only asked for honesty and a sense of safety. You asked to be chosen the same way you chose them day after day. But they were distracted and careless. They assumed love was permanent and that you would always forgive and return. They failed to see that each time they ignored your feelings or prioritized convenience over commitment, they were teaching you how to live without them. Now, seeing you thrive and build a life that no longer includes them, something inside breaks. They finally understand you didn't leave because your love faded. You left because you began to love yourself. That truth is heavier than any farewell. In the end, what weighs on them most is not simply losing you, it's realizing how you found the strength to walk away without bitterness or revenge. You didn't try to make them jealous. You didn't beg them to acknowledge your worth. You simply chose yourself, and that choice changed everything. Dignity is quiet. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It stands firmly in its own truth. It says, I love you deeply, but I will not lose myself to keep you. It says, I deserve peace even if it means walking alone. When they see you living this way, confident, grounded, secure, they feel a deep respect. The kind of respect that comes from watching someone choose growth over comfort. They realize you were never weak for loving them. You were brave. Brave for staying and trying, and even braver for leaving. When love became a source of pain, your dignity became your boundary. Your healing became your transformation. Somewhere in the corners of their thoughts, they carry you not as someone they lost, but as someone who showed them what true strength looks like. When your dignity outweighs your love, you don't just walk away from a person, you walk toward yourself. That is the most powerful ending of all. If this story feels familiar, it's because it is your story. Every night you stayed awake, wondering why love had to hurt. This is what you experienced. Every message you almost sent but didn't. Every tear you silently wiped away. And yet, here you are, still standing, still growing. You didn't lose yourself. You discovered yourself in the heart of heartbreak. I am proud of you for surviving what tried to break you and for choosing peace when chaos felt familiar. If this resonates with you, stay on this journey. Subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to feel less alone tonight. Your story matters, and your journey is far from over. There comes a day after the pain has settled when you wake up, and the first thing you think about isn't them, what they're doing, or who they're with. You notice that the energy you once gave them has slowly returned to you. This is the moment they fear most, even if they don't realize it. As long as you carried anger, they still had a hold on you. As long as you felt sadness, they remained the main character in your mind. But the moment indifference sets in, they turn into a ghost. They become a lesson rather than a longing. You begin to see the relationship as it truly was, not as you wished it could be. You notice the times they didn't show up. You recognize when they let you down when you needed them most. And instead of hurt, you feel relief. You understand now that you aren't missing them, you're missing the version of them you created in your mind. Now, you no longer search for their name on your screen. You no longer check to see if they viewed your latest post. You've finally closed the door, not out of anger, but because there's nothing left for you there. Many believe the person who speaks the loudest or gets the last word is the winner. But true power lives in the silence that follows walking away. When you stop responding to their breadcrumbs, when you stop reacting to their attempts to grab your attention, you reclaim your power. Silence is the ultimate boundary. It signals that they no longer have access to your thoughts, feelings, or time. They might reach out with a casual text or a weak apology to test if the door is still slightly open. They want to know if they can still affect you. When you don't reply or respond briefly and politely, it communicates more than any argument ever could. It makes clear that the bridge is gone. You're not playing a game, nor trying to make them chase you. You are simply finished. This silence becomes the home of your healing. It's where you reconnect with your own voice. It's where you realize you are enough on your own. Your dignity doesn't need explanation or defense. It simply needs to be lived. The most beautiful part of this journey comes after the goodbye. It's when you redirect all the love you once gave to someone else back to yourself. You begin to notice the colors of life once again. New hobbies capture your attention, you meet new people, and you start building a life that feels stable and secure. You understand that by walking away, you didn't simply lose a partner, you gained a future. You stopped settling for a love that felt like a constant struggle and started creating a life that feels like a sanctuary. Looking back at the version of yourself who once begged for scraps of affection, you feel deep compassion. That person was just trying to survive, but you are no longer that person. You are now the one who chose to thrive. You are the one who recognized that your heart is a treasure, not a playground. As you move forward, you carry the lessons learned without carrying the burden. You are ready for a love that doesn't require you to shrink. You are prepared for a life where you are the priority. This isn't merely an ending, it is your rebirth. You are standing in the light of your own self-respect, shining brighter than ever before. With time, you come to understand that they were never meant to be your destination. The truth, once obscured by tears, becomes clear. This person was never meant to complete your story. They were a chapter intended to teach you about your own strength. You see now that the pain they caused was the friction necessary to ignite your growth. If they had truly been the one, they would have cherished your heart instead of testing its limits. If they were meant to stay, you wouldn't have needed to lose yourself to hold on to them. Now, when you think of them, the pain has faded. You no longer dwell on what if, because you are fully engaged in enjoying what is. You are grateful for the ending because it opened the door to a far better path. You understand that the universe didn't remove them to punish you, but to protect you. It made space for something genuine, respectful, and healthy to eventually enter your life. You are at peace with the fact that some people belong in your heart, but not in your life. And finally, you step fully into your own light. This is the moment where healing is truly complete. It is the point where you stop defining yourself by who left you and start defining yourself by who you have become. You are no longer the person who was discarded or considered not enough. You are the one who survived, who chose yourself, and who found the courage to step into the unknown. Your scars are no longer signs of shame, they are badges of honor. They prove that even after being broken, you can come back stronger. You have realized that your happiness is your own responsibility and that no one else holds the key to your worth. You now walk with a unique kind of grace because you understand that even when the world is harsh or people grow cold, you have a solid home within yourself. You have reached the ultimate milestone, being happy alone. This means you will never again settle for a love that is less than you deserve. Your story doesn't end with others losing you, it ends with you finding yourself. It ends with the quiet understanding that you were always the hero of your own journey. You don't need anyone's apology to move forward. You don't need anyone's closure to feel complete. You are the closure. Your growth is the greatest response you could ever offer. So take a deep breath and acknowledge how far you've come. You are standing at the edge of a brand new life. And for the first time, you aren't afraid of the heights. You are ready to soar. This is your victory. This is your peace. This is your life. And it is beautiful because you are finally the one in control. Thank you for staying until the end. Remember, you are worthy, you are strong, and you are loved. Even after the dust settles and you move forward, there is wisdom that remains in your heart. You have learned that love should never feel like an endless debt to repay. You have learned that your kindness is a gift, not something for others to exploit until it runs out. This journey has taught you the difference between being needed and being valued. People who need you will only appreciate you while you are useful, but those who truly value you will appreciate you even when you have nothing left to give. You now recognize the red flags you once overlooked. You understand that someone's potential is not the same as their reality. Most importantly, you have learned that you cannot make someone treat you better. You can only allow them to change themselves. Your role is to decide what you will accept. This awareness is your shield, ensuring that the next time you open your heart, you do so with your eyes wide open, protecting the peace you fought so hard to build. Choosing yourself doesn't just transform your life, it affects the world around you. When you stand up for your own worth, you give others silent permission to do the same. Your friends, family, and even strangers who witness your growth are inspired by your strength. You become living proof that it is possible to walk through fire and emerge whole. You begin to understand that your story can become a source of light for someone who is still sitting in the dark, questioning whether they are enough. By choosing not to accept less than you deserve, you raise the standard for how you expect to be treated and how others should value themselves. Your life itself turns into a message of hope. It shows that heartbreak is not an ending, but a pathway to a stronger and better version of who you are. You are no longer trapped as the victim of a painful narrative. You have become the author of a meaningful one. Every step you take away from a toxic past moves you closer to a future built on real connections and deep, honest happiness. In the final phase of this transformation, you discover a form of joy that is calm and grounded within you. It is not loud or attention-seeking. It is the simple satisfaction of respecting the person you see when you look in the mirror. It is the peace of a quiet night without the stress of waiting for a phone to ring. It is the freedom to make decisions based on what truly fulfills you, rather than what prevents someone else from walking away. You realize that the most important relationship you will ever experience is the one you have with yourself. Everything else comes second. You have become your own closest ally, your own guardian, and your strongest supporter. The love you once searched for in others has been found exactly where it began, inside you. You are complete. You are whole. You are standing firmly in your truth, and nothing can disturb that foundation again. You have transformed your pain into strength, and that strength now belongs to you permanently. At times, the only way someone can understand your worth is by feeling your absence. By remaining for so long, you unknowingly showed them that they could treat you poorly and you would still stay. You showed them that your boundaries could be crossed and that your love was a safety net they never had to earn. But by choosing to leave, you are teaching the most important lesson of all, that your presence is a privilege, not an entitlement. They may reach out when loneliness begins to set in, but you must remember that regret does not equal real change. They do not necessarily miss you as a person. They miss how you made them feel about themselves. They miss the comfort of having someone to rely on without offering anything in return. Your absence is the only force that will truly push them to face themselves in the mirror. But you don't need to be there to witness it. Your role is no longer to be anyone's teacher. Your focus now is on yourself, making your well-being a priority. The most remarkable part of your journey is that, despite everything you endured, you didn't let the world make you bitter. It would have been easy to shut your heart forever or to decide that love isn't real. It would have been simple to grow cold and cynical. Yet, you chose a different path. You chose healing. You preserved your capacity to care while adding the wisdom to protect it. You are still the kind, loving, and profound person you've always been. But now you carry a backbone of steel. You've learned that softness is not weakness, it is strength. Paired with self-respect, it allows you to love deeply without losing yourself. You can give without being drained. You can be vulnerable without being a victim. This balance is your greatest achievement. You have survived the storm with your soul intact. One day, you will be ready to love again, not out of a need to be rescued, but out of a desire to share the beautiful life you've created for yourself. The final promise to yourself: as you look to the future, make a promise to who you are today. Promise never to let someone else's opinion define your reality. Promise to listen to your intuition the first time it speaks. Promise never to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's small world. You've worked too hard for your freedom to give it away. You've paid for your peace with tears and sleepless nights, so protect it. Know that the right people will never ask you to sacrifice your dignity for their affection. They will meet you where you are, bringing the same respect and effort you offer. You are stepping into a new chapter focused on growth, health, and genuine happiness. The past is a closed book. While it is marked with struggle, the ending is triumph. You are the survivor, the dreamer, the one who chose to thrive. Walk forward with your head held high, for you have finally returned home to yourself. The power of starting over from strength. Starting over does not mean beginning again from zero. It means starting with experience. You are no longer the person who entered that relationship with blind hope and an open door. Now you know your worth and understand your limits. This new version of you is harder to deceive and more difficult to break. When you rebuild your life, it is based on truth, not on pleasing others. The things that used to unsettle you now hold little power. The people who once intimidated you now appear smaller. You've faced your greatest fear, the fear of being alone, and realized that solitude is far better than being with someone who makes you feel lonely. You are now the architect of your own happiness, creating something meant to endure. The freedom of releasing the need for an apology. For a long time, you may have felt stuck, waiting for them to apologize. You wanted them to acknowledge the hurt they caused and recognize all that you did for them. The reality is, that apology might never come. Some people are simply unable to see the pain they've caused, because doing so would mean admitting they were wrong. If you wait for their words to heal you, you're giving them control over your future, even after they're gone. True freedom comes when you realize you don't need their validation to confirm your pain was real. You don't need them to admit wrongdoing to understand that you deserve better. You take charge of the situation yourself. You offer yourself the apology they never could. I am sorry I allowed someone to treat me that way for so long, and I promise it will never happen again. Once you do this, the chains are lifted. You are no longer waiting for someone else to release you. Then comes the quiet emergence of a new kind of love. As you continue on your path, something gentle and profound begins to unfold. You start to attract a different energy because you're no longer operating from lack or need. You stop drawing people who drain you, and instead, you notice those who are whole, healing, and respectful of boundaries. This love isn't loud or rushed. It is steady, patient, and built on mutual respect. It doesn't demand you change, nor does it make you walk on eggshells. Even if it hasn't arrived yet, you are okay with waiting. You've learned that the love you give yourself is the most dependable love you will ever have. There's no void left to fill. You are complete in your own life, dreams, and peace. Finally, you are ready for everything you once thought you weren't worthy of.